You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
We have a great house call lined up for today. We've got 3 amazing questions, really covering many different topics, from autoimmune, aromatherapy. We're talking about iron absorption for both vegans and paleo-based diets. But first, I wanted to start with a success story. So I don't share a lot of success stories, and people have started to ask, talk about more case studies, talk about how you're helping people get well, losing weight, and helping people, age better. So maybe I will start sharing more of those, of course, confidentially with all of the people that I do work with in my practice, because I get to work with so many great people, and there's no thing that I don't work with, meaning like there's no dis-ease, as we call it in air quotes, and there's no condition. People ask me, do you work on this? Of course I work on that, and that's because I don't work on any disease. I work on the underlying based issues that allow for these specific diseases to take place, or health conditions, or mystery-based illnesses like I had, many years ago. So, because the bottom line is this, that everyone has what I call this loaded gun, or this Achilles heel, which means that if there's a disturbance in the underlying systems, one person gets rheumatoid arthritis, one person gets sarcoidosis, one person gets lupus, one person gets MS. So it's like you don't get all of them. You get what you're preconditioned to, and that's our genetics. But however, genetics is there, but it's lifestyle that pulls the trigger, right? So genetics, as they say, loads the gun, and lifestyle pulls the trigger. And it's not just lifestyle, meaning like it's all the things that make that up. It's the pollutants around us, the carcinogens, the foods that we eat, the sleep that we're not getting or getting, the stress in our life. So it's all of those things. So please do keep that in mind. I do want to get right into today's show so that I don't make it too long for you. I know people do enjoy the close to 10-minute format, so I'm going to try to stick with that for you, respect your time. So let's talk about the success story. So basically, a few weeks back, a listener named Alexandra on episode 148 asked, and again, this was just 2 weeks ago, asked, why am I not getting my period anymore? I'm in what's called amenorrhea. And what that means is that when a female just literally stops getting her period, that's a worrisome thing, because that means that the body is out of balance. And so what we did was we answered her question. So please go back to episode 148 if you missed that one. It was our first question of the show, and I gave some tips, and what worked for her was she cut back on the intensity of her exercise. It was just too much for her body with where she was at. She might have been dieting at the time, which is going to make it worse. And here's what we found. She wrote back just 2 weeks later that after she stopped her intense exercise, after we answered that question, she finally got her menstrual cycle back. So amazing, great work, Alexandra. All I did was simply provide some information, some knowledge. You're the one who took the step to actually implement that. I'm proud of you. Keep up the great work. And again, if any questions that I've answered for you seem to have helped, you've got some benefit, I would love to hear your success story as well, because that's obviously, this is why I do what I do. All right, let's get into our first question of the day. It's coming off of Instagram. The name was not really even something that I could say on the podcast. So let's get into the question, which is obviously more very important. So we're looking at, what's the difference between a plant-based iron and an animal-based iron? And what's the difference in absorption? Do you actually absorb iron from vegan-based plant foods? I've heard that it's very low. Okay, so really great question, because I work with a lot of vegans in my practice. And so I want to answer this question just truthfully. And again, based on the science, I try to take all the bias out of things. It doesn't matter to me if you're paleo, vegetarian, primal, vegan, fruitarian, whatever. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to help you live as healthy a lifestyle as possible, within your parameters. So let's talk about exactly what they are. So in animal foods, iron is attached to proteins called heme proteins, all right? And so it's called heme iron. And this comes from animal foods, so we'll call animal-based iron heme iron. And in iron that is plant-based, it's not attached to these heme proteins. So That's how we're going to look at it. And people pronounce Heme in all sorts of different ways. I forget about the semantics and just give you the science. So Heme iron is absorbed at a rate about 7 to 35% in that food. Okay, so it's low, right? It's in general, it's between 7 and 35% of the iron in animal foods you'll absorb. Now in plant-based foods, you're going to absorb somewhere between 2 and 20%. Okay, so low range is 7 and the low range for the plant ones is 2. Obviously very small amount. The high range for the animal ones are 35 and the high for the plant is 20. However, again, there's a caveat to everything, right? The reason for the large range is because iron does not work in isolation. That's why I really hate to see when people come into my practice and they're be given iron infusions, like with a metal-based iron. That to me seems completely insane because iron's also a free radical. And they're still not absorbing it. There's still low iron on their blood test. Well, why is that? Because iron doesn't work in isolation. No supplement works in isolation. No process in the body works in isolation. So iron is absorbed better with magnesium, calcium, vitamin C, B6, B12, folate, and copper. Okay, so you need those things really to transport it into the red blood cells. However, what they're finding right now is vitamin C may be the most important for transportation of iron. And they've shown that you can actually multiply plant-based iron by a factor of 6 for absorption when taken with vitamin C at that meal. Pretty amazing, right? So you can simply eat some of your healthy greens that have a lot of high vitamin C in them, take a vitamin C supplement, whatever it might be, and that's going to more than double what you would get from animal-based protein with iron. So don't feel that you can't just get iron from plants. You absolutely can. Just make sure you're keeping your vitamin C levels high enough. And a lot of vegans do eat a lot of vegetables as well. And so you're probably already taking care of your vitamin C levels. Hopefully that answers your question. And great question. Really great one. Okay, next question's coming in from JJ. JJ is asking, a friend of mine has Hailey-Hailey disease, and there's no known cause for it, and she doesn't know how to get well, and it's basically very, very debilitating. Well, what is it? It is a really painful, sore, open rash on the skin. It almost looks like, it's hard to describe, but a lot like psoriasis, but really inflamed, or almost like a poison ivy based reaction on the skin. So here's what I always do when we're given these mystery-based illnesses. I want to give you a little insight into how I work my practice. Is I look at what else could be going on in the body to cause this autoimmune reaction. Because if we believe it's an autoimmune disorder, well, that means the immune system's imbalanced. Remember, the immune system's not dysfunctioning in an autoimmune disorder. It's too strong on one branch of the immune system and too weak on another branch, typically between Th1 and Th2 immunity. You don't need to know any of this. I'm going to make it really easy. Here's what we do know. We know what works to at least lessen the effects of Hailey-Hailey, and that is this. Corticosteroids, which is an anti-inflammatory drug, has been shown to knock it down a little bit. But so have antibiotics, and so has antifungals. Okay, that's what matters more to me. So inflammation, we know it's an inflammatory-based issue because it works with corticosteroids. We know that there might be a bacterial component, and we know that there might be a fungal component. So when I see that, I say, oh, I get it. I see that this could very easily and very well be caused by what causes most autoimmune-based issues, and it's a gut-based issue a lot of the time, meaning that the gut, the intestines, have increased permeability because of antibiotics, because of Advil, because of birth control, because of stress, because of improper food combining, because of tap water, because of all sorts of different things, right? So what happens is it allows for fungal-based growth, sometimes called candida, right? So if antifungals work, well, they're knocking out candida. So we say, okay, well, we know that. And if antibiotics work, well, there might be bacterial overgrowth, something like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, something like that in the gut that, again, is seeping into the bloodstream and being pushed through the skin because the skin is the largest excretory organ. I'm telling you right now, I've worked with people with psoriatic arthritis, the worst skin-based issues. Here's what works. Take an organic acids test. Look at your gut function. Are you high on bacterial counts? Are you high in Clostridia-based counts? Are you high on yeast and fungal-based counts? You can just go to stephencabral.com/store, look at the OAT test, the organic acid test. It doesn't matter if you do it with myself and you get my recommendations, or you work with another naturopathic doctor or functional medicine doctor. I'm just here to answer your questions. And then you'll start on an antifungal, anti-candida-based protocol, antibacterial-based protocol, natural-based, of course, and then you'll seal up the gut. You can also do a detoxification before anything to clean that blood. Remember, a detox is different than a cleanse. A cleanse removes everything from your intestines. A detox cleans your blood. If you have skin rashes, you have dirty blood. Stuff is coming through that skin. Unless it's contact dermatitis where like your fabric softener, poison ivy, something like that, touch your skin, you had a reaction, most likely it's coming from the inside out. Your skin is a gateway to what's going on in your body. I could spend an hour talking about this, and I do when someone comes in for a consultation. So start there. Do a detox while you're waiting for your organic acid test results to come back. Or if you can't afford the organic acid test, simply use the yeast and fungal-based protocol, the 3-month protocol that I have right on the website. And so hopefully that helps. And please do get your friend some help for this, because this does not have to be something they need to live with for the rest of their life. And I certainly hope that they do not. All right, Kim M is up next. Quick transition right here, right? From an autoimmune disorder to does aromatherapy work? All right, so I've gotten this quite a few times. We're taking Kim's name, using Kim's name for that. So here's the thing. Some people say aromatherapy works. Some people says it doesn't. There's some research showing that it does. There's some research showing that it doesn't. Well, how can that be? Well, it's always this. Supplements work, aromatherapy works, acupuncture works, all of these things work if the person needs it, right? If that person's body needs it. Just like we talked about earlier in the show, how much iron do you absorb? Well, typically as much as your body needs, and then it doesn't absorb any more iron. Like, that's the amazing thing about the body. It will fill up its capacity, and it usually won't overload it. Now, it does sometimes, because it will just start to excrete what it doesn't need. Well, in the case of aromatherapy, I'll tell you this. Lavender has been shown to work. So without a doubt, lavender has been shown to work. Lavender oil, lavender essential oil, lavender as an aromatherapy, meaning like infused from infuser, or just smelling a bottle of it, or spraying the lavender in the air, does help calm the central nervous system. It's been shown to help induce more of a deep sleep state. It's been shown to help calm the nervous system. It's a fantastic product. I've used it for when my children are kind of like, they were young, they were amped up. We would spray in the room and just kind of like settle them in for the evening. I love it. I think it's fantastic. If I'm changing time zones, sometimes maybe I'll have a little bit. It will just kind of like reset my system. But, for the most part, it's just a great calming essential oil. The other nice one is eucalyptus. So eucalyptus is fantastic for opening up the sinuses. So when I was over in India a few times, as well as Sri Lanka, we used to use eucalyptus leaves in boiling water. We would then put the person's head over this hot pot of eucalyptus leaves, and then we would put a towel over the pot and the person's head for sinus-based issues. And their nose would just drain everything from their sinuses, and they'd be able to open up their nasal passages with this amazing eucalyptus-based scent. Really, really amazing stuff. So you say, does aromatherapy work? I simply say, what's your condition? Do you have a specific issue? And if you do, look for the scent, look for the oil, look for whatever it is that may help with that. And again, for $5 or $10, like, why not just use it as a trial to see if it works for you? That's the nice thing. We can use relatively harmless things for relatively little money and just see if it works for us. All right. And again, it's safe. It's easy to use. That's what I recommend. So look up your condition, whether you need more energy, whether you need to relax, whether you need to open up your nasal passages, and just say, hey, would this work for me? Let's test it out. So Kim, hopefully that answers your question. Great question. I'm going to do an entire episode on aromatherapy in the future, and all the different uses for it, and which essential oils should be used for what person. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Cabral Concept. Please do share these answers to your questions if you feel they can help anyone else. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.